Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? I know you're not in a good mood, so let's just skip all the nice shit, other than to say that this show today is sponsored by Imperial Pizza, best lunch specials in town, one of the premier places in all South Buffalo. Make sure you go check that out. I will be there live on Thursday night. We'll be doing a show with Nate Gary from WGR. Tomorrow's show, Aaron Quinn from Cover One. Thursday morning, I'll have Anthony Marino from Buffalo Rumblings tonight for a second straight night. I'm joined by my buddy, returning to this podcast, Tone Pucks. We're taping this quite literally within 5 to 10 minutes after the Buffalo Bills and just an absolutely epic, embarrassing collapse, losing to the Aaron Rodgers list. New York Jets in overtime on a punt return. There's a lot of reasons why they lost that game before that play, though. And we're going to dive into some of them. I usually have the same format, the good, the bad, the ugly, with every Bills game, win or loss. But I got to be honest with you, Tone, man. Right now I'm having, and you watched the game, by the way, we watched the game together tonight. Had some wings from Imperial, very good wings. I'm having a hard time kind of collecting myself right now. I'm almost... maybe I shouldn't be in shock, but I'm almost in shock. Like, how are you feeling right now? Instant reaction, literally within maybe 15 minutes or so after this game just ended. Just unbelievable to me right now.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call it the stupidest game ever to have to do a podcast after.
No shit, dude.
I can't stand you right now because of that. But let's just look at what's ahead. All right. We are going to be dismissed in the national media.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be absolutely annihilated in the local media. And it's going to be deserved on both fronts. And people that, get their feelings hurt when people talk bad about their beloved Buffalo Bills are going to have to suck it up this week. All right. Regroup and get the table, jumping on selves ready for 2 games against the Raiders and the Commanders, and hope that you just get right. Because I said that yesterday, and I still believe it. As bad as this one was, and as bad as it played, and as much as there is to talk about on the downside of things, all right, I got to stay true to my feeling going in, and that was that I can deal with a loss because there are 2 teams coming up that if we are who we think we are, we're better than. And, I expect to host Miami in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, however you want to look at it. I expect to host Miami at 2-1. Anything other than that, and this is the beginning of a catastrophic start.
It might already be. I'm going to say that right off the bat. It might already be. And listen, I know who I am. I'm an overreactor, and I don't really try to hide from it often. If you would have told me, okay, so again, we've talked throughout the day, and we talked about it on the show last night. If you would have told me 5 minutes before kickoff, the Bills were going to go into New Jersey and lose on Monday Night Football by 6 points, a field goal, 10, 14, whatever it may have been, I would have been stunned. Not at all. And I agree with what you're saying. You come back, you win the next 2 weeks, and, a lot of doubts they're not erased, but they'll at least get eased up maybe a little bit. But the way things played out, with Aaron Rodgers going down, on the first drive, he didn't even finish the first drive of the game. And the way the Bills played tonight is just deplorable. And again, we're going to do the good, the bad, the ugly, and try to kind of stay on track a little bit, but I got a lot of shit going through my mind, and I'm kind of forgetful. So some things, if they pop up, I'm going to say it. Let me start here. And again, I'm going right to the end of the game as opposed to so many factors, that played into this game. But for me, we spent a lot of this time or the game tonight conversating and talking about Ken Dorsey this, Ken Dorsey that. And I was, to at least some extent, kind of defending him, other than the fact that I thought it was a joke that Gabe Davis got one target to 3/4. But that aside, I was like, yo, and this is all true, by the way. The Jets defensive line was just pulverizing the Bills offensive line. Josh Allen was playing terrible, making terrible decisions. There was a lot of blame going around. So it's easy to just say, well, it's Ken Dorsey's fault, this and that. Fire Ken Dorsey, and you know that shit's going on. Literally, as we talk on Twitter right now, you know that's going on. But I'm going to tell you this. Overtime, a 5-yard false start by Spencer Brown, and then you get nothing on first down. It was an incomplete pass, a bad Josh Allen throw low to Dawson Knox, who was open. And it's 2nd and 15. You're in overtime. You're the offensive coordinator. And what play are you dialing up in overtime when you got a $258 million quarterback? And I don't give a shit how bad he's played throughout the whole game. He did take you down for a field goal at the end of the fourth quarter. What play do you dial up? A 15-yard, 2nd and 15, a run up the middle. And all due respect, because I like him, but James fucking Cook gets a fucking carry on 2nd and 15 in overtime. What is that? Everything leading up to that, I'm like, I will at least make some attempt to somewhat defend Ken Dorsey. After that call, James Cook on 2nd and 15, no shot. That was inexcusable and embarrassing.
Yeah, he's got to wear that one, man.
He does.
He's got to wear that one.
We got our own takes.
That was awful.
And Tone, we got our own takes, but I want you to pull up your phone. I want you to read a tweet to everybody out here who's watching this, which, by the way, I have this nice intro. I do appreciate everyone who is tuning in, whether you're watching this on video, of course, or listening to this podcast form. I know you're disgusted when you're waking up this morning or whenever you're watching or listening to this, but we'll have some takes, but I want you to read a take from someone else. Say who it's from, and because I think this encapsulates the Buffalo Bills performance and maybe this team right now more than anything that either of us are going to be able to say.
Yeah, I stumbled into it before the outcome, and I liked it. It's Ben Solak. I think GR has him on, maybe even weekly. His take, I want to say it was probably around 13-13 at the time. Difficult to overstate how embarrassing this is for the Bills. The moment Rodgers went down, all they had to do was play a controlled, mistake-free game. They have done everything but at every turn. An immature and concerning game, independent of the final result. I mean, just that nails it. I think that nails it. I don't know. I don't know his relationship to our market. Like I said, I know he's in it. I know guys have him on. But I think he's just of the national variety, and I think that take just hits it.
Nothing he said is a lie. This is again, it's one game out of 17. I understand that, and I know my guy Aaron Quinn from Cover One. I was thinking about this as we're taping. I mean, you're a little more subdued than I thought you would be. A little bit, not much more. I'm really fired up right now. I'm trying to contain it a little bit. But Aaron Quinn, my guy from Cover One, and I love Aaron. He's going to piss me off. I'm taping with him tomorrow morning, and I know he's going to have a very even keel, borderline nonchalant attitude that it's just one game, and it's going to kind of piss me off because these games come back to bite you. And again, shouldn't be surprised. This is a team that beat the Bills last year in New Jersey with Zach. Was it Zach Wilson or Mike White? I don't remember. I think it was Zach Wilson. It was, you know what? The Jets didn't beat the Bills. The Bills beat themselves last year. And to some extent, they did that again. Again, the good, the bad, the ugly. We will have, there is some good, and we'll talk about the good, but let's just jump right into a lot of the bad. And you got to start again. Ken Dorsey, it's easy to blame everything on him, and I'm furious with him right now. But I'm going to tell you, and maybe you think I'm wrong. Let me know if I am. That might have been the worst game I've ever seen Josh Allen play. Certainly the worst game that Josh Allen has played during this, like, quote unquote, Super Bowl window over the last 3-4 years. He was bad in New York last year. He was way worse tonight.
Bad. QB1 bad. Yes. I mean, that is that's a top storyline from this. Clearly seems to be an Achilles heel for no pun intended with I mean, we haven't even mentioned Aaron Rodgers' name yet.
Not yet.
This Jets defense seems to have his number, whether they have Josh's number, Dorsey's number, or the collective. advantage over the Bills offense. We saw it again today. We saw it again today. I'm looking forward to, some film breakdown. I want to see if as we suspect, the separation wasn't there, and Josh was looking at, a lot of covered receivers, but he was bad. He was bad. And Dorsey will get a lot of blame. It's just one of those weeks where every single, I say caller because I'm still kind of in the
radio mode.
In the
You're
radio
an old
mode,
school
but
dude. That's cool, man.
it's just one of those weeks where every single caller is basically can probably be right because there's just so much, to complain about.
We've went 10 minutes, and I think one thing is important to give the Jets credit. They're a good football team. Maybe not so well. They are on offense. They got a lot of skilled position players that are really good. We saw Breece Hall do some great things tonight. We saw Garrett Wilson with an unbelievable touchdown catch. But Aaron Rodgers is hurt. Who knows? That offense is probably not going to be that good if Zach Wilson is the long-term answer there. But I'm talking about the defense, dude. That defense is insane. And it was DJ Reed who said before the season, and I thought he was talking completely out of his ass. Maybe he still is, but he said we have, potential to be one of the greatest defenses ever. He's talking about the 85 Bears and this and that. Maybe that's a little premature, but I'll tell you what, they looked at tonight because they just absolutely, well, you know what? Again, I want to spread some blame around, and I want to go back to Josh because I'm letting him off the hook too easy.
Hold on. I want you to finish your thought on the Jets, or at least let me finish your thought on the Jets, because if you want to draw a blueprint on how to go out there and, be a defense that people will talk about in the same breath as the 85 Bears, then you do it on a night on the national stage against one of the best offenses in football. All right. When your everything quarterback that really the entire game was about, went out within 4 plays and you delivered a win. That's a pretty good way to start the story of, the defense that they think they can be. You couldn't draw up a better way to start than the W that they just handed their squad tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point.
And their city, all right, and their entire fan base, which in the middle of a very competitive game was just sitting there with like their fucking heads in their hands like this, just miserable their entire night, their entire season, their entire existence. All right, just shot to shit. And that defense just said, nah, you know what? We're going to go make you all happy tonight. And that shit, I mean, I give them a lot of credit, but we fucking suck.
We did. We see it's coming. It's coming out little by little with Joe Bucks here. That's all right, because I want to, this podcast is going to be about some emotion, and that's why we're doing immediate post games. I told you this. I used to sit back until like a full day after to digest everything. When I don't want to digest anything, I'm pretty, I'm going to be pretty high after some games, and I'm really low right now. And again, I'm not surprised that the Bills lost this game. I didn't know leading up to kickoff. I was like, I told you this yesterday in the show. People were asking me, thinking that I matter what my opinion is, how I feel about this game. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't. And I'm not surprised. But for Aaron Rodgers to go down, this team was just looking, or they were ready to get pummeled. It felt like they were ready to get pummeled. But everything that defense did against the Bills worked. And before I get to the offensive line, because Josh Allen was not alone in blame, by the way, but that first interception was basically a punt. Who gives a shit? He threw it down the field on 3rd down. He should have dropped the ball, actually. He caught it at the 4-yard line. Kind of the Jets did us a favor there. But that 2nd and 3rd interception, all the Whitehead, by the way, had out 3 interceptions on the day. Those were just horrible throws and terrible decisions from Josh Allen. And then to make matters worse, which led to the Jets with the go-ahead field goal in the 4th quarter. He bobbles the snap, picks it up, gets clocked, and fumbles it. 4 turnovers, tied a career high tonight. I don't know, Tone. This might be unfair, and maybe this is where I go to overreaction territory where I start getting harsh. But it's like, I don't know what's up with Josh. Prepare was, I know this much. I'm trying to be careful how I say this, but I'm going back to the Bengals playoff game last year. And the criticism that I heard about Josh Allen is that he just wasn't ready to play that game. Not going to get into any personal stuff, none of my business, whatever. But bottom line is his preparation for that game wasn't where it needed to be. And it showed on the field. And I don't know why, but that's what it felt like to me tonight. It's just like he wasn't there. Now, maybe in fairness to Josh, it was just the defensive line beating the shit out of his guys. And maybe he has zero confidence in Spencer Brown or Mitch Morse or Connor Montgomery. Any of these guys are going to make a block. And that's in the back of his mind. And that might force him into, making some mistakes. So again, it's not just him. But your quarterback can't be the worst player on your team. And arguably, he might have been the worst player on the team tonight for the Bills. And there's candidates, but he might have been the worst of the worst.
Well, let me tell you what's wrong with Josh Allen. I got 2 words for you. Haley Steinbergen.
Stop it.
Sure.
Stop it.
All right, yeah, man. All right. We have a superstar quarterback in the national spotlight for the first time in forever. And on the biggest stage today, he went and laid an egg. And now he will have 2 consecutive 1:00 games, probably number 3 on the broadcast schedule to fly under the radar and get his football team back to 2-1. But he sucked tonight. He did.
And so did the offensive line. And It's easy to just say Spencer Brown. And Spencer Brown was not good. He got beat really bad for a sack. I think Josh was sacked maybe 5 times. Connor Montgomery, we noticed this. We talked about during the game. He was bad tonight. Mitch Morse, there were times I was yelling at the TV a couple times with you, man. And like you snapped the ball, and it's like he was blocking or just standing in front of air. Like I was just running right past him. He was just standing there. And I seen it happen multiple times. It's just the offensive line was just terrible tonight. Protecting him, they weren't very good running the ball. And when on a few occasions where James Cook did bust 1 or 2, it was more James Cook than great blocking. It's just the offensive line was really bad, man. Dominated.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that draws me to football is, as cheesy as it sounds, is I am a firm believer in just the overall build. All right. From, the roster build to both sides of the football, the 11-man unit on every given play. I really am a believer, all right, that everybody has a 111th. And despite, the obvious, Josh Allen criticism that'll come tonight and whatnot, you've mentioned, shit, man, you've mentioned half the offense at this point. And, and it was a collective lemon on that side of the ball. And it's Dorsey and it's Allen and it's the line. And we'll probably find out from the all 22 that it was the receivers as well.
Can't
all right. That whole side of the football. All right. That whole side of the football stunk.
Why? And again, giving the Jets credit, but why you have all off season to prepare for a game? You're up 10 points too, by the way. You know what I'm saying? You should be able to play with a lead.
Well, here's why I want to attack Dorsey, though. Okay, because even well before the result, all right, and well before the wheels came off Josh, one of the things that we saw early in the first quarter was, I think, some of the nuances of the offense that we weren't showing in the preseason. All right, the use of Hardy. In the slot, I think he started a play in the backfield, caught a swing pass, stuff like that. Yeah. Those are the types of things that you're keeping off film. All right. In the preseason, so that in week 1, you can come and make a real impact with them. And you want to know what that real impact was in that first quarter when we were being, kind of creative or innovative with some of the new toys this year? Man, they were ripping off about 3 to 5 yards each play. That is all those we're getting. And I'm telling you, those were scripted because they were in the first 2 drives. Mm-hmm. Those are scripted, designed plays that we have kept off film all preseason long, only to go out and gain about 3 to 5 yards. To me, that's an offensive coordinator, all right, who's miscalculating.
Yeah, and Gabe Davis, Dalton Kincaid, 0 combined targets on their first 3 drives. Gabe Davis caught a 26-yard pass on their 4th, which led to that was on the touchdown drive, actually. Yeah, everything you say about Ken Dorsey is right. I just can't get my mind, and this is part of the reason why I'm struggling to do this post game so quickly right now. I am struggling to get over running the ball up the middle to James Cook on 2nd and 15 in overtime when Tyler Matekovich won the coin toss.
Tyler Matekovich.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, I get it. The false start on Spencer Brown, incomplete pass to Dawson Knox is 2nd and 15. You just went, what did they go, 50 yards on the last drive to get in position to kick the field goal? Which, by the way, that was one of the most anxiety-ridden field goals
That was a fun
I've
field
ever
goal.
seen. So
that was a fun field goal. That was
everyone,
like Christie in those Patriot games.
you tried fronting on me saying that, you've lost your anxiety and this and that when handling it.
It definitely swarmed me. It swarmed me on that Bills last drive. And I'm not playing, man. All right. When the Jets went up 16-13, and even as the Bills started that drive, I was just kind of like, all right, it's not hitting me. I'm not anxious. You know what I mean? I'm just willing to take the loss. I'm not having that physical effect that the Bills can have on so many of us. And then we started to drive, and then we lined up for a field goal that was one of the most anxiety-ridden field goals of all time. And, I mean, there was certainly some embellishment, but, I fell to the floor, and I needed those few seconds on the floor as well, man. That was fun. That was really the only fun I had tonight.
Am I surprised that our quarterback turned the ball over 4 times? Sure. Am I surprised that the Bills would run the ball in overtime on 2nd and 15 up the middle? A surrender play, basically? Yeah, I am. But one thing I'm not surprised about is that this offense struggled against the Jets. And, I mean, you could attest to this because we watched the game together tonight. I was never comfortable. I was never stress-free. Even without Aaron Rodgers, and you got a 2-score lead against Zach Wilson, there was no point where I was like, whenever the Bills were on offense, I'm like, I feel comfortable right now about this game. I just never did. The Jets were defending every single blade of grass, running to the football. You said athletic as hell, man. Just making plays all over the place. I got to give them some credit because they're really good. I kind of feel like I'm starting to spin my wheels here a little bit because, again, I'm still stuck on this Ken Dorsey play in this overtime drive and just how badly it played out. All the shit during the offseason, if you had concerns about the Bills, I feel like most of them reared their ugly head tonight. Josh Allen with the turnovers, Dorsey's play calling, the offensive line, Connor McGovern. We talked about him literally just yesterday. I thought he was really bad. Mitch Morrison have a good game, but Spencer Brown, I mean, even he got beat for a sack. I wouldn't say he had a horrible game, but he got beat for a sack, had some missed blocks, big false start on the first play of the possession in overtime. And then on the defensive side of the ball, though, Terrell Bernard, to be fair, I thought he played much better in the second half. So I felt like I was a little bit too harsh on him early on. But, all these things about the Bills that I was worried about, at least coming into the season, they kind of justified it tonight.
A lot of the smaller things, yes. But still, I mean, I think the one thing that you count on with the Bills is that you're going to get, a quarter of $250 million performance from your quarterback. All right. And that just didn't happen. It just didn't happen.
If he plays adequate, they win, right? If he's even average, if he's just adequate, Josh Allen, all the mistakes the offensive line made, the missed blocks, stupid play calls a couple times, if he's just adequate in this game, the Bills are 1-0 right now, right?
Yeah, that goes back to the Solak tweet, right? I mean, all you had to do was just play some mistake-free football, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. It's shocking, man. This is a shocking result. It's not a shocking result, going in, but the minute Rodgers went down, I don't know what the live line did, but I'm sure it skyrocketed, and the losing to a team, led by a kid that was a total afterthought, and deservedly so. He ain't shit. It's a terrible loss. It's a terrible loss.
It really is.
It's a terrible loss.
You can't
man.
understate it. It's not just this 1 out of 17. And sure, Cincinnati got stomped on Sunday. But if I'm a Bengals fan, we talked about this. I'm not panicked. I'm a little bit. I don't want to say I'm panicked right now if I'm a Bills fan, but I'm concerned because of the way that they lost. And again, when Aaron Rodgers goes down, it's just, I don't know, man. It just should have been a wrap. It was real ugly. Well, I had it had up. There'll be when you hear the audio version anyway, it'll work out. But anyway, it was a BCW wrestling. Everything's a fucking disaster right now with this podcast, with this team,
it's hot in here.
With this game. It is hot in here to make matters worse as well. Yeah, look, offense, you could go on for days. With the exception of Stephon Diggs came to play today. Big opening week for him. 10 catches for 102 yards and a touchdown, their only touchdown, actually. He played He played well, and we did notice too. They showed it on the TV at one point that he went up to Josh before that last drive, which I was bitching to you about because I was like, the only thing that was annoying me worse than the way Josh Allen was playing was the way Josh Allen was coming to the bench and just seeming like he was just sitting there sulking by himself. And you said
body language.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I stuck up for it at the time. You know, I mean, he's a veteran quarterback. He doesn't need to be patted on the shoulders and stuff like that. You know, hey, you'll get him next time. Although, which, as you were alluding to, that's exactly what Diggs did before the final drive. And it works. You know, we went down and got the field goal, but whether it matters to you that Josh was sulking alone or whatever, whether or not he had the support of his teammates, I think that all kind of falls under the same umbrella, which was his body language was awful tonight.
Yeah,
his body language was awful, and that includes on the field. All right, that just includes on the field. He just didn't have that same sort of confidence, enthusiasm. It was man, a lot of this was about the quarterback tonight.
It was about the quarterback. It was. Tonight. And again, I want to make sure he does not escape blame on this show, because I still feel at the end of the day, if he plays even okay, the Bills, maybe not in the most pretty fashion, it won't be a signature statement win, but they leave that stadium with a win if Josh Allen is just okay. Do you feel like, did you see a lack of confidence in him? Maybe his body language or in his eyes or just in his reactions on the bench to the offensive line, because he was under siege a lot. I mean, again, it's not like he was sitting in the pocket, with no pressure on him, just bad throw after bad throw and turnover after turnover. He was under pressure a lot. I think I don't have the stats right in front of me right now, but he got sacked like 5 times, and he was hit a lot too. I mean, took some really hard hits.
We've watched a lot of football, and anyone who has probably has paid attention to quarterbacks that just have a nemesis team, a nemesis defense. I remember
they
Kelly.
Really are.
I remember Kelly against man. It was Reeves. It was Reeves Broncos. Reeves was the head coach, but I can't remember. I was about to say Kubiak, but Kubiak's actually the backup that came in for Elway in the AFC Championship game. But those Dennis Smith, Steve Atwater, Bronco teams, I just remember, man, Kelly just couldn't figure him out. And that's where Josh appears to be with the Jets.
I told you at some point during the game too, and I truly felt it. I referenced those Bills teams. How many times we grew, again, being our age, we grew up watching the Bills, and we weren't even kids. We were like teenagers going in, being late teenagers or young adults when the Bills went on their run for all those years. And it just, Jim Kelly, not week after week, but plenty of times, he would go out there and he would stink the field up for 3.5 quarters. But at the end of the day, he would find that one drive, that one play, that one throw. He would do something, whatever it took, and the Bills would find a way to win. Somebody would step up and make a play. And it just, I don't know. By the way, and this is unfair to put on just Josh, because I know right off the top of my head, the Kansas City playoff game, he never even touched the ball. But Josh is 0-5 in overtime games now. Didn't know that until I saw that stat. Again, maybe I'm being a little unfair. I can't remember all the games that they lost, but I don't know. It's just making the big plays in the big moments. It just seems to elude the Bills, to be honest with you. It's like Tyler Dunn, Tone. I remember having him on my show, and he talked about the Bills were like front runners. Like they're better. If they're more talented than you and they get out in front, they'll flex on you. They'll step on your grave. They'll just rout you. They'll kick your ass. But when the team punches them back in the mouth and it's a tight game in big moments, they don't find that way. It happened last year against the Vikings. Happened last year against the Jets. When they had a chance to come down. I don't know if I can say the playoff game, of course, last year, but 2 years ago, Kansas City, it happened against the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? And that's something to be concerned about, I feel like. And I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know if it's the quarterback. I don't know if it's the coordinator. I don't know what it is, but they're like either they steamroll you because they're just better than you, or they're not winning games that they should win, like this one.
Look, any skeptical narrative of the Bills that's out there that anyone's ever had, now is the time to go ahead and take, albeit an early victory lap. But yeah, I mean, that's the way it goes. If you got to take and you believe in something, and even if it's only week one, if that team lives up to it or down to it, all right, then you have every right to say, well, this is kind of how I feel about this team, and I've said it in the past. So there are a lot of Bills naysayers out there, and they will they'll
There's
remind
going to be more.
They'll remind you, all right, of what they said going into this game, and we have 2 weeks to just fly under the radar and get to Miami 2-1.
One loss is one loss.
Back to that. Keep going back to that. Get to Miami 2-1. I guess that's what the fan in me is saying and feeling.
That game's in Buffalo too in week 4.
It is.
Yeah. One loss, but do you feel like this has the potential to be just more than one loss like right now? What's your confidence level at? It was whatever it was going into the game. How much did it dip based on one game? Did one game sway you significantly, or do you still more or less feel the same that you did going into this game, with the premise that you thought there was a good chance the Bills could lose this game, but I don't think you thought that Aaron Rodgers would go down in the first drive of the game and that the Jets would only muster 16 regulation points, but still the Bills would end up losing this game?
All of that's correct. And as much as I'm, normally not prone to, to do this, I come off my mark pretty easily. I want to stay true to how I felt going in. And that is that there are 2 teams coming up on the schedule that we are supposed to be quite a bit better than, and let's just go get to Miami at 2-1.
All right, I am back here with Tone Pucks, and we are going over the immediate aftermath. The Buffalo Bills lose in overtime to the New York Jets in embarrassing fashion, quite frankly. I don't even talk about that special teams play. It's so fresh in my head. I want
at it. I want at that special teams play because I want to know why the fuck I got to sit there and look at Tyler Matakevich for 5 straight years for the sole purpose of not losing a game on a punt return. All right. I mean, I'm giving this guy a roster spot. I'm giving away Saran Neal, Tyler Matakevich. I've got about 4 or 5 roster spots committed. All right, to the importance of special teams.
Cam Lewis.
You just lost a football game.
And Cam Lewis, by the way, not entirely his fault, but Cam Lewis did blow the initial tackle on that punt. Cam Lewis stressed, DeMar Hamlin didn't. I'd be willing to bet a chunk of that reason is because Cam Lewis is perceived as being
it was a terrible kick. I mean, it was. I mean, it was a terrible kick. So he came up on it, and I'm sure that just broke everything down. But I do get annoyed. I do get annoyed losing. All right, on a special teams when McDermott is still giving away 4 or 5 roster spots to special teams every single year, 2 of which are like linebacker depth spots where I suck, kind of. You know what I mean? Like
if you're a Jets fan or if you're a Bills hater, that was a really climatic ending of the game for us, for Bills fans watching that game. It felt like I spent so much emotion on that last drive and just the tense and anxiousness of knowing that, and I freaking knew it. I told you time and time again, I was concerned about this game. I was when they were up 2 scores too. I was the whole game. I didn't have any confidence in the Bills offense anyway. I had a lot of confidence in the defense. But anyway, my point was I spent so much emotion that when that happened, I was just sitting there exhausted and in shock that really this is how this game's going to end. Then I'm like, well, it feels kind of fitting, You know why? One of the reasons why it does feel fitting too, because if they would have came down, say if the Jets just field a punt and they go 65 yards on the defense, then maybe we're handing out more criticism to the defense. So if we flip the field here, talk about the bad, the ugly, I thought the defense played really good tonight. So if there's a good to come from this game, if you're a Bills fan, and if you're really scratching and clawing and looking for some optimistic points to hit on, you don't agree with me? I thought the defense played well.
I mean, against an absolute bum.
Well, they had 4 turnovers on offense.
Fine, but they played good against an absolute bum.
Okay.
I mean, what percent of the reps did this kid get in camp? Like maybe like 2%
Sure.
of reps. I mean, he's a joke. He's a punchline. All right. Now, he threw some good balls. He had some, and he got some big plays from his receivers. But no, I'm not ready to hand out, good grades to the defense just because they stopped Chad
I don't
Wilson.
agree
What
with
the
you at
fuck's
all.
his name? What's his name?
Zach Wilson. Dude, the defense turned the ball over. I bet you the Jets, right off the top of my head, I know for sure their last 10 points, not counting the punt return, came off turnovers. So that's 2 scores off turnovers. And then literally the special teams lost the game in overtime. The defense played good. They gave up that long 83-yard run. By the way, props to Christian Benford for not quitting on that play and running down Brees Hall. Literally saved them 4 points on that drive. So that was a big play from Christian Benford. I thought he was fine. I'm not saying that the defense dominated the game. They played well, though. I mean, pressure was there. They got a lot of pressure. Greg Rizzo played really well, especially early in the game. Floyd had a sack and a half. He's the one who knocked Rodgers out of the game early.
All right, just go do it against Jimmy Garoppolo and
Sam Howell.
All right, I knew I had the last name. Just go do it over the next 2 weeks, then. Okay, if we're good there, if we're okay over there, then just go do it over the next 2 weeks while the offense gets right, and then I'll be willing to plug the defense a little bit.
The offense looked really bad in that Pittsburgh preseason game, and we were like, "Whoa, it's just preseason, but don't look good." Then they have one drive in Chicago, and we're like, "All right, this is the Bills' offense, high-powered offense." I don't know, man. I'm kind of like 50-50 on it because I got to give the Jets credit, and for whatever reason, and you said this, even though the Bills, they split last year too, but even when the Bills beat the Jets, even when they beat them in Buffalo last year against Mike White, the defense played well. Josh Allen does not play well against the New York Jets. I told you at some point during the game, I think I'd be more comfortable if we had a 2-score lead and we were playing the Philadelphia Eagles or the Kansas City Chiefs than I do against the Jets, because I just feel like they're going to stymie our offense. And that's quite literally exactly what they've done. But if you're Sean McDermott, Tone, you're going to say what you're going to say to the media. He's going to have a press conference tomorrow or today when you're watching or listening. He's going to talk to the media, and he's just, he's going to be annoyed, but he's going to talk about being one loss and bounce back, come back. But if you're Sean McDermott, what's the tone with him this week? And then, in that locker room and on the practice field, and what kind of worry do you think he has, if any, with his own team right now? He can't have none, because I think that's a lie if he says there's nothing to be concerned about.
McDermott's a robot, man. McDermott's going to come out and say, we're going to do what we do to get out of things like this, and that is we come to work. We come to work.
Sure.
We come to work, and and we get to work on it. And you know what? It's actually, as boring as it is, that consistency is probably one of the things that that serves them well. It's just, it's the mark of a decent coach. It's the mark of a decent leader. It's a lot of coach speak. It's super boring shit as far as sound bites go. But I buy in. I buy in. Just, hey, let's get to work. Let's get to work on the Raiders, and we'll put the Jets in the review until we see them again.
I can't buy it. All right, bum quarterback aside, a concern, not a concern, but it was something worth noting of interest to see how Sean McDermott would look calling the defense, calling the plays, being the defensive coordinator. Again, bum quarterback aside, as you say, which I still don't completely agree with, but I thought he did a pretty good job for week 1 at least. But I didn't see anything coverage-wise. Like, we were thinking maybe, the Bills might draw some schemes, some fancy blitzes, stuff like that. It felt like a pretty straightforward, basic defense. Terrell Bernard, if he wasn't on the field the whole game, he was on the field almost the entire game. Taylor Rapp played some. I noticed that in the slot for Teron Johnson here and there. But as that aside, this was pretty much your basic 4-man rush, maybe occasionally a fifth guy blitzing, and it's a pretty basic defense. Maybe that's because he was playing Zach Wilson in the Jets.
Man. I mean, I feel
so
like
we didn't learn much.
Two things. I feel like two things kind of changed. The McDermott the interest in the McDermott, schematic side of the defense.
Mhm.
And that is, the change of quarterback. All right. Is one. And the fact that I do think we probably showed early that we could get home with 4. I mean, we were getting a lot of pressure with 4.
Yeah.
So once you're getting a lot of pressure with 4, there's really no reason to, to really try much else.
Right.
So a couple things probably played into that. And so, that grade is incomplete for me, maybe not grade, but, that early assessment on what a McDermott, defense is going to look like, that comes off a little incomplete tonight when the quarterback changed as quickly as it did.
If not counting the Jets, if there's a big winner to come out of tonight, not that it matters what people talk about or write about or whatever, but the Miami Dolphins are going to come out smelling like roses after this week 1. They go to the Chargers, they win, and their offense just looks unstoppable, quite frankly. The Jets, a very impressive home win against the Bills. However, if Aaron Rodgers is gone for a significant length of time, I don't think anybody's thinking that Zach Wilson is going to lead the Jets to 11, 12 wins and a playoff berth. Obviously, if you're Buffalo, even when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, I remember my first reaction as we were watching the game tonight. I'm like, well, first I was like, oh, okay, fuck Aaron Rodgers. But then I
loved it right away. I did. I'm not going to lie.
I hate Aaron Rodgers as a human being.
I loved it right away. I was like, you know what? So what? All right. So what?
It happens. I get it. Let me say this too. I hate Aaron Rodgers as a human being. And I've been very, very vocal on this podcast numerous times on social media about how much I hate Aaron Rodgers. So if there's one guy I'm not going to feel sympathy for, it would be him. But that said, I was also annoyed because I'm like, great. The Bills are going to win an ugly, my thought process, the Bills are going to win an ugly ass game and nobody's going to give them any credit. Not that I even watch most of these national talk shows anymore anyway, but nobody's going to give the Bills any credit. And if they happen to lose to Zach Wilson, the sky's going to be falling with national media anyway, and at least some fans for sure. And that's exactly what you're going to see this week, I predict.
I agree. Can I go back to hating Aaron Rodgers as a human being? All right, there are fucking rapists, all right, leading National Football League offenses and shit. All right. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is super annoying and was really weird with a lot of things. Sure. And he loves the spotlight too much and all those things. But I'll give him a pass as a human being. I just want to draw the line between hating human beings.
I hate them.
All right. Who rape masseuses and, hating human beings who go into dark retreats and stuff like that. They're just like Aaron Rodgers is just a fucking weird dude.
I don't like him. I was
fine with him going down. And actually, man, we haven't really talked about that. That is like maybe even a bigger story than the result tomorrow. Isn't it though? I mean, for football fans across the country, not just Jets fans. All right. I mean, football fans. Look, I went on a run at halftime and heard Sal Capaccio talk about, it was just really terrible for the NFL. And that's Sal. Sal loves him some NFL. All right. But that is good. That is going to be that is going to be the story. The story is yeah. I mean, well,
sure.
Just coming off tonight, the Tuesday morning story, the story of this game is not going to be, all right, the Zach Wilson led Jets W. It is going to be the Aaron Rodgers injury, because regardless of Zach Wilson leading them to a W, against the Bills, the Jets season, if Aaron Rodgers' season ended tonight, then so did the Jets season.
It does. And it's funny you say that, because I'm like, all right, yeah, sure. If Aaron Rodgers happens to be done, and we'll find out maybe by the time you're listening to this, but let's just assume if his injuries, even if he's 10 weeks or if he's gone, whatever, it don't matter. A 3-horse race becomes a 2-horse race. But that's only because the New York Jets only get to play the Buffalo Bills twice. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if the Jets played the Bills 8 times, they might beat the Bills 6 times. They just play them that tough, and that defense dominates. Styles make fights. I said that during the game. For whatever reason it is, the Bills just do not seem to play offense well against the New York Jets. I don't know, man. But anyway, I do agree with you. If Aaron Rodgers is done, the Jets season, although it was a nice story tonight for them to get a win, on September 11th in New York, New Jersey. That was a nice story nationally, not a nice story here in Buffalo. But yeah, they're done. They're done.
We're calling them done, though. I mean, we're calling them done with an absolute beast of a defense and a first overall pick who's about to take over, which is a trip, which really kind of speaks to, oh my God, what a terrible draft pick.
Who? Oh, Zach Wilson?
Yeah.
Second pick, but yeah, second overall.
Who was one?
I can't remember. It wasn't Zach Wilson. No,
it wasn't.
That was the year where all the quarterbacks sucked. But anyway, no, look, and they still have great weapons too. Breece Hall and Cook in the backfield, and Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard's. So he's got weapons to work with. You know what I mean? Probably better than last year. Garrett Wilson's has a year more experience. So maybe we're a little too quick to write off the Jets. They'll still be competitive, but I don't think they're going to win the East if Aaron Rodgers is done. But again, maybe the other teams can beat the Jets because it doesn't just seem like it's going to beat the Bills. Real quick, I want to get to a couple NFL things. We'll get out of here. A couple notes that I wrote down during the game before this got so chaotic and shit, late in the game. I kind of had the structure, like I said, the good, the bad, the ugly. That's my goal when I do this. And we've talked about most of them. But on the ugly side, where is it? I want to make sure I have the right stat. Yeah, I do. Jordan Poyer, for the second time in 3 times that I've seen him, and I'm a Jordan Poyer guy, and you were ribbing me because of my take before the season started. My big bold Bills prediction was that Jordan Poyer is going to lead the AFC in interceptions.
Terrible take.
Well, especially after Whitehead had 3 of them tonight. So even
that might be Jordan Poyer's total for the year right there.
I don't know, but here's what I do know. Something don't look right about him. That Pittsburgh game when Jalen Warren scored that touchdown, and it was just one play, and Poyer took a bad angle, but he got smoked. And then on that long-ass Breece Hall run earlier in the game, I wrote it in my notes, concern about Poyer's speed. It's like he's still a very physical guy. He's still an instinctual guy. I do think as the season goes on, he's going to make some big plays. I'm not saying I'm off the Jordan Poyer train completely, but I do have concerns about him. It's like he's got cement feet sometimes. If he gets caught on the wrong angle or something, he just doesn't have that speed to make up for it. So that was in my notes with the ugly. Just
it's a great example, all right, of the people that want to talk about the window closing. Now, I don't think that we're going to see a window closed when, let's say, Jordan Poyer and or Micah Hyde's time in Buffalo is over. I think we could be on the cusp of a significant roster flip over, roster reconstruction.
Sure.
But when you want to talk about guys, on the wrong side of 30, losing a step, well, what you're really doing is, you're kind of validating the opinion out there that that they're getting old in spots.
He missed a tackle too during the game, and just a bad player too. Again, I'm not writing the guy off. He is not far removed from being literally a Pro Bowler, an All Pro, not even just a Pro Bowler, but an All Pro. So I'm not ready to write him off. But the antennas went up for me a little bit.
Man, and that's fine for that to happen. Again, he's an older player, and there's a few of them on this team.
Yeah, and one of them is Micah Hyde, and there was a lot of talk about him and Poyer together. I'll tell you what, I liked what I saw from Micah Hyde tonight.
Mitch Morse was getting his ass whipped tonight.
Bad.
Mitch Morse north of 30. All right, easily could be a spot that has to turn over.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so there's not really much more that we could say about this game specifically. It was an irresponsible, embarrassing, inexcusable loss where the quarterback had one of, if not his worst game in his career. And you have a quarterback who plays bad, and you have an offensive coordinator who's running the ball in 2nd and 15 in overtime. You're not going to win a lot of football games. I don't give a shit if it's Zach Wilson or whoever the hell, Mike White. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is for the Jets. If your quarterback's playing bad and your offensive coordinator can't come up with ways to get Gabe Davis more than 2 catches on the day, stuff like that, there's just so many things that went wrong with this team, and I just don't know. James, one last point. James Cook had 16 touches. You pointed this out during the game. It looks to me like he's going to be the feature back. That's what I wanted to say. But at the end of the game, money time, Latavius Murray was out on that last drive. I don't know if that's something to look forward to going forward. There was one 3rd down play, and you were probably one of the most animated you've been the whole game, the whole night, was when Cook didn't kind of like.
Yeah, he pulled up. He
pulled up a little bit on a 3rd down catch. It was a 3rd down catch, and it felt like he could have lowered that shoulder and made a better effort to get the 1st down.
Yeah, well, it was also
race for the contact.
It was also like his 3rd touch in 5 plays. I think I feel like they overcommitted to him.
He had
a little
16
bit
touches
tonight.
on the day.
Can I just? I want a different fucking night. All right. I don't want these anymore. I don't want football games. I want to come in here. I want to make fun of you. All right. This is what I came. This is what I signed up for.
Yeah.
All right. I haven't laughed one time. How long has it been? It's been like an hour. I haven't laughed one time. Give this night to somebody else. I want a Wednesday night and like Barry Manilow trivia and shit. This sucks. Fuck this.
I had some shit for us near the end, some retro stuff. One of my favorite things about having you on the show with me, as opposed to a lot of my other guests, is there's a big age gap between me and a lot of people I have on, but not with me and you. We're pretty much, barely a year or so. Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to get to that, though, because, again, I'm pretty pissed off. All right, so that's enough Bills talk here. Hopefully, they'll get their shit together against the Raiders. They better damn well get their shit against the Raiders, because if they play like that again on Sunday, man, it's going to, the national people, I keep fucking saying the national people, the local people too, are going to have a field day with this team, and they should, because it was just, again, it was inexcusable, irresponsible, and an embarrassing loss around the league. 4 biggest surprises that I have written down. We'll just fly through these. The Chiefs lose at home. The Bengals got smacked at Cleveland. The Giants, by the way, when we were taping last night, unbeknownst to us while we were taping, the Giants lost 40-0 at home to Dallas. That's really bad. And the Rams dominated in Seattle. I still refuse to put this Bills loss among those biggest surprises. You agree? Even if it is Zach Wilson?
I had the exact same 4 things, Pat.
Biggest takeaways from the week. Now the week 1's in the books. What's your biggest takeaway from this whole week? Not just Buffalo related, but anything. I got 2, 3.
It starts here. It starts tonight. This story is huge. I mean, it is Aaron Rodgers going to be able to come back and play football this year, and can the Jets hang on long enough for him to? All right. So this is the number one story of the week for me. And other than that, we've got some good AFC teams that looked very bad. All right. Allen and Burrow come to mind. So what are we really dealing with there? And is a team like San Francisco ready to be put in the same breath as the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC? The 49ers and Brock Purdy, even though it's year 2 for Purdy, I still think if and you alluded to this yesterday, his draft status, if Mr. Irrelevant leads a team to Super Bowl contention, I think that's going to definitely move the needle.
I agree with you about Aaron Rodgers. Previous to that, I had Tua and Hill just being dynamic, and Miami being very much for real. I think they proved themselves already right off the bat in week 1. Cleveland, every year, we know every single year a team comes out of nowhere that no one talks about preseason and ends up being in the playoffs. Maybe Cleveland's that team this year. They got a really good defense. They can run the ball. We're not going to have a Cleveland discussion. We did that last night. But anyway, them beating Cincinnati the way they did, I think that put them on the map for this year. And I don't think we mentioned him on yesterday's show. I just want to throw a couple flowers the way of Jordan Love, man. He looked really good for the Packers. Now, granted, it was the Bears, but he put up some good numbers, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Just Green Bay just hits that lottery, it seems like, with the quarterback. Just is going to be, hopefully for them anyway, the 3rd consecutive one that goes on maybe to have a nice long career. So those are my big go ahead.
I like Love and Mayfield for this point. Every now and again, all right, a team that was built to win a championship with a prolific quarterback sometimes has enough leftover pieces, all right, after that quarterback leaves to still compete if somebody new comes in that has some upside. And I believe that Tampa Bay still has a lot of players, all right, carrying over from the Brady era. I mean, shit, man. I mean, Baker's still throwing to Mike Evans and Godwin. Is there a third there, or did the third guy in Tampa bounce?
They got someone new. I can't remember who it is.
He's got weapons, though. He's got weapons.
Some guys, sure.
And there's still some guys on the defensive side of the ball. Again, that's a team that still has a lot of parts, all right, from a championship build with Brady. And, the same is true of the pack, that was always building to win a championship with Rodgers, and now Love and Mayfield, may just be good enough in not that great divisions to carry, a pretty good roster in other spots to a division title. So I like that storyline. I like that storyline too. And remember yesterday I was kicking myself. I didn't bet the Bucks plus 1,000 to win the South because I thought that was just a really good play. I mean, like who really deserves to be that big a favorite in the South? Remember what I said? I thought they would drop to after they won.
I
thought
they would go down to 400 maybe.
6. It went, yeah. I said it drops to about 450, and today it was at plus 6. That's a big swing. That's one win in week 1 from a plus 1,000 to win a division to a plus 600, and I'm almost ready to do it at the plus 600. All right, just because I wanted it so bad at the at the plus 1,000.
If it was even money, I wouldn't like that because I still think the Saints.
Well, no, oh my God, no,
you're talking those odds
plus 600.
Yeah, for those odds, sure. And look, you can, and I know there's a lot of people, if they're watching and listening right now, we're going to say the biggest storyline from week 1, probably around the league, is that Buffalo, Cincinnati, and Kansas City all lost. The 3 perceived favorites in the conference are all 0-1 right now. And by the way, I've gotten multiple hate texts from friends tonight. I drafted Josh Allen in our fantasy football.
Oh, count me amongst the haters, the Maloik. That's bad shit, man. Real quick. All right. Tomorrow morning, betting lines open. AFC East betting favorite, Miami Dolphins, correct?
I never thought of that. No, I still say it's Kansas City. And Cincinnati.
No, bro. I said AFC East betting favorites.
Oh, AFC East betting
favorites.
favorites. Yeah.
Miami Dolphins.
5 if you watch the pregame.
Minus what? Miami's minus what to win the AFC East when it opens tomorrow?
Not heavy.
I agree. All right.
Small favorites. And they should be.
140.
Didn't the Miami Dolphins?
Minus 140. That's what I'm going with. Miami's minus 140 to win the AFC East when it opens up.
We're not going to be homers here. We're being objective. Does Miami look like a better football team than the Bills right now?
Yeah. I mean, they have. We don't have anyone that can match Tyreek Hill, man. We just don't. We just don't. He's a piece of shit. He's an absolute piece of shit, man. But we just don't have a Tyreek Hill. There simply isn't another Tyreek Hill, and there's a reason why, even with a roster of some decent skill players at the time, all right, there's a reason why when Mike McDaniel heard that Tyreek Hill could be had, Mike McDaniel's jaw hit the floor. All right. Yeah. And Mike McDaniel just said, go get it done. All right. He's stupid. He's off the charts.
One last Bills question for you. I should have asked this before, but again, I'm kind of got notes all over the place, just being sporadic and random here. If you're it's a copycat league, and sure, look, the Jets pass rush makes things a lot easier, and they got a lot of talent all over the place, and not everyone can play defense as good as the Jets. But I kind of feel like that was the blueprint to defend the Buffalo Bills, is just do not give up big plays. Make them have to go down the field. Make Josh chuck the ball to Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox and Deontay Hardy and James Cook out of the backfield or running these plays. Don't let them get loose throwing the ball long. Josh was I think he was like 0 for 3 tonight with 2 interceptions on deep passes. But anyway, that's kind of like the blueprint. I mean, and maybe it was before tonight too.
I don't think it can easily be replicated. I think the Jets can do it because of the skill. I believe they close at every level. All right. I mean, they closed at the intermediate route level. They closed at the deep route on the deep routes. They closed on the fancy Deontay Hardy fancy Deontay Hardy plays tonight that we didn't want to show anybody. And you know what? That's what pisses me off. That's why I'm so annoyed. That was all Diggs. That's why I'm so annoyed with Dorsey. It's just those Hardy plays were definitely designed for yards after catch or yards after touch. They were designed to break, and the Jets just didn't bite at all on any of it. And now it's all out there. Now it's all out there. You really only keep shit, all right, from film in preseason for 1 week. That's it. You get 1 week of the shit that you didn't show
anybody. The Bills had something to dial up tonight. They were doing it.
That's it. That's it. It's out there. You're out there now. People know how you're going to use Deontay Hardy. All right. I'd sure love to know how we're going to use Dalton Kincaid. Talk about, he made a couple catches, had a couple yards after catch, makes contact, picks up another 2 or 3 yards. Cool stuff. But I think we thought we'd see more.
Yeah.
Do we not? I think we thought we'd see more.
I expected more from Trent Sherfield too.
Oh man, yeah, Dorsey deserves a lot of what he's going to eat. The quarterback and the coordinator, deservedly so. They're going to get pounced on this week.
Yeah, I agree 100%. By the way, if you watch the show, not today, yesterday's show, which admittedly is old news, but if you want to go on, hit YouTube. Don't go on the audio version. Go on YouTube. Get to about like that, 13-minute, 12-minute mark or so like that. Tom Bugs on camera decides it's a good time, to have the old hands down the pants. And I don't have the comment on the screen, but some dude, his comment he said it was very Al Bundy-ish. I didn't think of that until I saw afterwards.
It's good. I love the Al Bundy reference. What's funny though, I know, bro. I know what's funny though is later on during the recording, I don't know if you remember, but you were talking about something, and I said, honestly, man, I wasn't even paying attention for the last 30 seconds because I noticed my belly on the screen, and I didn't even that was well after the initial one there that came not only the belly, all right, but complete with a partial, hand down the waistband as well. Like I was just
it could be more comfortable,
just
man.
Chilling.
Yeah, but do calling that on YouTube and saying it was very Al Bundy-ish. I'm like, that is absolutely fucking perfect. A couple minutes and we're gonna get out of here. I'm done talking about football. I want to be in a good mood. And I'm not going to be in a good mood if we're talking about this game. I got a
25-minute drive. I got to get up with the kids in the morning. What could I do possibly to help you get into a good mood?
One of the things that I plan on doing with you, and again, normally we wouldn't be taping these shows fucking after midnight from an embarrassing Bills overtime loss against the Jets. But anyway, I like to spend, just when I have Anthony or Aaron on, I like to spend a little chunk of the show at the end kind of just talking about the personal side, giving people a chance. Because I know as much as you think that only the 5 people that we're both mutually friends with at this point on Facebook are actually watching this, there's actually a lot of people who don't know you, and it's kind of an opportunity for them to get to know more about you. So like I said, kind of the same things I do with some of the other guys and girls that come on. But anyway, in your case, being that we grew up together and we've been friends since like the mid-'80s and shitting around the same age, a lot of the stuff I know are things that you can relate to. And I have a fun fact for you, man. I'm going to pull this up here on the screen. The Beatles, the song Help, on this date, September 11th, even though technically now it's September 12th, this was number 1 on Billboard in 1965. 58 years ago, this song was number 1. And it got me thinking, you and I'm like, they were about 10 years done. The Beatles. Like nowadays, when you talk about the Beatles, again, that was nearly 6 decades ago, that song, and then being number 1 on the charts. But when we were coming up, when we were kids, and I don't even mean like little babies, I'm talking about like early into our teen years, the Beatles were only like a decade removed from being broken up. So like those songs weren't all that old like they are now. You know what I'm saying? It's just, so to see that, I have a comparison. For younger people.
Well, then get there.
For people who are younger, it would be like Jay-Z. Jay-Z's been out of the game for like 10 years or so, 12 years. It's kind of like for younger people, that would be the Beatles to us. That doesn't interest you whatsoever, does it?
I mean, just not remotely.
Come on, dude. You don't remember? Like, that wasn't all that long ago. We were kids, the Beatles being broken up. You weren't a Beatles. Were you ever a Beatles fan?
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And like that Beatles, number 1 CD that's got like their 30 number ones or whatever with, the red front. Not that anybody listens to CDs anymore, but yeah, I mean, it absolutely rocks. We want to know what, like, one of my favorite Beatles memories is one of my mother's cherished Beatles albums was one that I used at a party all drunk to try to emulate, like, some scratches.
There's something that'll interest you.
And I remember the apple. There was always an apple on the cover of a Beatles.
This will interest you even less.
It couldn't possibly interest me even less. But you know what it does?
Well, this is a retro. I want to set the scene, though. This is retro, and when we do these, it's going to be like on these dates that we're recording, but a specific amount of years ago. On this date, 1982, which would put you at what, like 10?
Yeah.
This was the #1 album. John Cougar, for people who are listening, not watching, American Fool, that album was spent 9 weeks at #1 back in 1982. I hated that album. Were you a John Cougar guy? You had 2 songs on there, and I thought they were both significantly overrated. I know they're classic songs now, but I never liked them.
I mean, I had some respect for, Little Ditty about Jack and Diane. I mean, it told a good story. But generally speaking, I didn't have a whole lot of use for Mellencamp. You know what I'm going to listen to on the way home, though, man? I got about a 25-minute drive.
You're going to say that like 3 more times in the next 2 minutes for me to get you out of here?
Everyone talking about my 25-minute drive. A little bit of Paul Davis. I want to listen to some. I want to get depressed.
65 Love Affair?
No.
You're not a slow music guy. That's one thing I do know about you.
Here's the thing with Paul Davis. All right. And I really want to one day dedicate a whole segment to this. All right. Paul Davis's I Go Crazy is one of the most tortured souls in song lyrics that I've ever heard. All right. I mean, your man is just fucked up over this girl. And I'm going to probably listen to it 5 times on the way home. And it really obviously has nothing to do with, with any relationship stuff. I want to feel it. I want to feel a little something.
That's rare.
I'm sad. There's something about that song. I don't know. It doesn't.
You're not a slow tune kind of guy.
I hate slow tunes, but
I'm on the opposite.
There's just there's something about that song where I'm feeling them. I'm like, man, your man is in rough shape over this. I mean, it's been a while. You know what I mean? So he's telling you that it's been a while, and he thinks he's over it. And then that shit just comes back, and it crushes him.
How many podcasts are going to go from talking about the Bills to Paul Davis? Just this one. All right, one more thing, then I'm going to let you go. I know what the answer is going to be for you here, but on this date, again, back in 1975, which that was we were born, but this was before our time, sort of, was Starsky and Hutch premiered. That was a popular show. Did you ever watch that back in the day?
I did not, but can I have some credit for being a hardcore Chips fan?
Chips fan?
Oh,
that was going to be my follow-up. Like, what were a couple of your favorite TV shows that you can remember? Like the first TV shows as a young kid that like you were really into that you can remember that weren't cartoons.
The Incredible Hulk. All right. The Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk. And Chips. Those were big ones, dude, bro. Like I used to have like a little play like motorcycle, and at the beginning at the start of the start of Chips was Eric Estrada and whoever the other guy was, you know him probably as Officer John Baker, and that was it, man. I would sit there on my motorcycle, all right, watching the intro to the show, riding my motorcycle on the California Highway Patrol.
I never really got into that show, but that's a good one. But you know what, my like craziest, weirdest skill that I have memory wise? I swear to you, like I can't remember Bills games from a year ago. Like I don't remember a lot of stats and results from some games, but I swear to you, I can remember going back to the 80s TV schedules. Like I could tell you nights of the week and what the schedules were on different networks that all those TV shows were on. And so I can still remember shit from literally freaking 40 years ago, but I can't remember a lot of things that are months old or maybe a couple of years at the most. Anyway, I'm done.
Wrap it up.
Yeah, I am wrapping it up. That is definitely going to do it for this episode. I don't know. I just kind of want to let loose a little bit here.
I actually, despite it being a little forced at the beginning there, I ended up being able to find a little bit of a fun, calming conversation about that, because I don't know what's still left on the radio. But
I spared you.
I'm not.
I spared you.
I really am going to do the Paul Davis thing. I'm doing the Paul Davis
I spared
thing.
you at the end, by the way. I have a full page here of my overreactions from the Buffalo Bills getting smacked in 2016. Rex Ryan, it was the second year. He got fired that year. But I had some crazy, I wrote out his post on Facebook with overreactions, because I went into this game saying, I know I'm going to overreact. If the Bills look really good against the Jets, I'm going to be too high. And if bullshit like tonight happened, I'd be too low. And I was kind of reminding myself of all these crazy things I said back in 2016.
You know who'd love
I'm
to
not
hear,
going to read it to you.
Oh, I mean, you know who'd love to hear them? Yes, is Aaron Quinn tomorrow.
Let me read one to you.
Oh,
Reggie Bush is not the second best halfback on this team, and he's not the third best either. Get him the fuck out of here. Kim Kardashian was smart to dump him. He's so much more height than substance, which makes him the perfect Rex Ryan guy.
It's not bad.
That's a good take, man.
That's not bad. My favorite Rex Ryan quote of all time was Sal Capaccio, who said that he believes that Rex Ryan, as much as Rex Ryan loved being a football coach, he's not so sure at the end how much he loved coaching football. That nailed
that is good
the end of the Rex Ryan era for me.
All right, guys, that will do it this time. I want to thank one more time Imperial Pizza for sponsoring today's episode. Make sure you get out there. 1035 Abbott in South Buffalo, man. Great food, daily specials, literally every day. One of the best lunch specials you'll find anywhere. And I will be there live Thursday night with Nate Geary from WGR for Tone Pucks. This is Pat. I'll be back with another episode with, I'm probably going to assume, a much calmer Aaron Quinn, and that'll be tomorrow. Talk to you then.